Little Miss Grace. Oh, you look cool because your eyes are like reflective.
Hi, everybody.
What's good?
Welcome to this episode of Ramblin down Rainbow Road. I'm your host, Grace Bowen. These are my guests, Bryan Christopher Moss and Hakim
Callwood.
Callwood. I'm a good friend, and I know my friend's name.
Oh, you're fine. Ask me to spell his last name.
I forgot. I meant to
spell my last name.
I'm gonna. All right. There's just no way. I'm trying to move this so that
she has to do her introduction first. It's like a podcast. You can't interrupt the introduction.
You're interrupting it just as me right now.
Because earlier she was like, "Hi, everybody." Hakim's like, "Hi."
Hi, everybody.
No, that's why I tapped you. Like, nigga, get off your game, bro. This nigga's playing 2 games at one time, bro.
You say hi, everybody. Of course, it's rude of you not to respond.
Nah, nigga, you're the guest. You're like the secret guest. You're not even the regular guest.
Man, I see how it's going already.
We're just hanging out.
Right.
This is gonna be another one of those episodes, or drinking episodes of Ramblin down Rainbow Road, because I've had a day, and my friends here are always down to chill.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to that.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're just gonna switch to game cam.
Okay.
Right now.
So we're playing the Super Nintendo Mini.
Yeah, talk about it.
All right. So I didn't hack mine because I have all the games anyway. So I kept because what they do is hack the mini and put all these games in it.
Oh, okay.
So this is stock.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Hakim and I will play, we'll start with Street Fighter because it's passive while we talk. Trust me, we're not like hardcore gamers.
No, see, that's what I was saying is that I feel like most people would have to focus on Street Fighter if that's what we were playing, but I know y'all are true gamers. So.
Yeah. Hakim, are you okay with passively playing?
Go.
All right. Oh, see, my bad, Hakim. So go ahead, Grace. You got the floor.
I have the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with the floor. I'm gonna just post the video to Instagram asking people to go to ramblin.live to watch this if they can. All right. So why don't you guys talk about your relationship, because I feel like I've gotten glimpses and pieces, but I never got the whole story.
Yeah, that's true.
Bryan, that's the homie.
You can start off, Hakim.
We just met off of Facebook for real, cause I'll be doing art stuff, trying to hang out with art people. I'm like, man, I like this stuff a lot. So we just became Facebook friends, and then we would see each other out, and then we just ended up hanging out. I think I just hit him up one day, like, you trying to hang out, bro?
Yeah, I think I just told you to come through.
Yeah.
And then Hakim brought out a Deadpool comic, which I never gave back to him yet.
He destroyed it.
How many years ago was it?
He destroyed it, too.
Shit, man, 3.5.
It's definitely ruined.
How's it been that long, Hakim?
It's
Definitely ruined.
Nah, it ain't ruined.
It's okay.
I can probably
It's not
see
rare.
it.
It's not rare.
It's all Nah, don't believe him, guys.
Do I gotta put my attack? What are you doing here?
Nah, bro, don't try to
You
cheat.
just changed yours.
Okay, we'll put it at the same level. We'll turn it all the way up. Okay, cool. Grace, do you play the games too while we talk?
I don't want to right now.
Okay, yeah, no, but
If
don't
I
feel
want
intimidated.
to, I'll ask to.
Okay, cool. So, so I would see Hakim around at festivals and places, and so I would be like, oh, hey, Hakim. And he'd be like, oh, hey, Bryan.
Basically.
Yeah, and then that's when he messaged me on Facebook.
And then, so we started hanging out, and it was primarily because I was so into his art. But then it became a working relationship really fast, where he would be like, I got this going on. Can you do this or that? And I'm like, hell yeah. Because I'm always about, taking advantage of those opportunities.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of
who's who right now?
I'm kidding. I'm really good at Street Fighter. But we're not competing. This isn't no, that's great. Why Grace put you on blast, bro?
Man, I was holding back.
Well, it's okay, because when we go to Smash.
You said passive.
When we go to Smash. I know, I'm sorry I'm aggressive.
Man.
I apologize.
Don't apologize. Now you're just taking hits. That's
fine with
honorable.
me.
Oh, I'll take all the hits and then come back.
Oh, shit!
So, Grace, here's the secret about Street Fighter. Ryu's really popular. But Ken's better than Ryu. Because more people use the Dragon Uppercut than they do the Hadouken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Dragon Uppercut is hard for me to pull off on purpose.
It's because the year he was born. So, here we go, Grace. So, I met Hakim out the window. So, Hakim would, do animation, and he would come up here and work. And so I would see him working, and then I would just give him, minor tips. He was already doing his thing,
Mm-hmm.
But then I would just give him shortcuts, oh, hey, Hakim, I figured this out. And same way, And then the relationship grew from there in a lot of ways, because what would happen is we started promoting each other's artwork. And then Hakim's buyers started hiring me for stuff and vice versa.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it was really like one of those things where, because when I was around Hakim's age, it was really lonely in Columbus because I was like late 90s, early 2000s, and the art scene wasn't really, because there was no Web 2.0. So the social wasn't really that big, you know what I mean? So with that coming into play, you know...
you make it sound like it was like 2001.
Yeah, Hakim's 20, how old are you, bro?
25.
Yeah, so I was 25 in 2004. And even then, Grace...
Okay.
You know, because like at that time, Facebook was restricted to college students still.
Yep.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had to be in school and stuff. Remember to sign up before.
Yeah, so that was like MySpace was like, and you know, it was still, you know, Web 2.0 was like even post Facebook in a lot of ways, you know, like the social media, the definitive term, you know. So prior to that, it's pretty lonely in Columbus, pretty dry. You know, you didn't have anything like on Parsons. Anyway, to the point. So with Hakim's generation, they're like really into collaborating and getting together. So that's why it worked out really well, because it was kind of like the space I wanted to be in at Hakim's age and the space he was already in. So my point is, it's a very symbiotic relationship in that sense, you know, it worked out naturally.
Yeah, I'm super appreciative for
I wonder if kids these days have a hard time like figuring out that kind of like networking, because we have so many tools available that it's just like overwhelming and hard to like figure it all out.
Oh no, it completely is.
Also,
yeah.
we're like glitching in a really cool way right now.
Ooh, I like that. We should make that to an album cover, Hakim.
That should be, that's how I see life on a daily.
Hakim's way funnier than me, by the way, everybody, so he's gonna way outshine me today.
No.
He's like so much more funnier than I am. But that's like why I have Hakim in
I'm gonna make an executive decision.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna say that we cut the live stream because one, it's not working, and two, I feel like when you don't think about being live, then you can sort of like settle in and you're not as on edge a little more. Yeah, is that okay?
I'm down with whatever.
Shit on camera.
Because for me, I don't. It's all the same to me.
Bye.
It's all
Okay,
the same
cool.
to me, Grace. So you're good either way.
All right, and then maybe my computer also won't be just like super loud. And
This is Tupac's song that be stuck in my head. I gotta find it. Just play it for y'all.
So are we still recording, Grace?
Yep.
Hakim, you can't play Tupac music.
Well, I'm
It's
not gonna play it
licensed.
right now because I don't want to look for it right now. It's gonna take too long.
Okay.
So go ahead, Grace.
But some other time.
Yeah, because I feel like you guys have the kind of relationship that a lot of like artists covet.
Aw, I like
right?
that.
Being real right now.
I'm blessed.
Both of y'all are blessed to have each other.
Yeah, no. It works, like I said, it works both ways. I like that, Grace.
Yeah.
See, it's like, that's like wax poetry. Like, she's doing your job, Hakim. Like, Hakim used to do spoken word before.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, before me. Like, literally the day he met me, he stopped doing spoken word.
This is trash.
It's like,
I'm gonna do something more permanent.
Yeah, I said, get this trash spoken word. Like, do art.
That's
so
like
this
a
nigga-
Soulja Boy story.
Hey,
it's
So it's like, no, but no, Hakim used to do spoken word. That's why he writes well.
Oh, okay.
So like Hakim, that's why he's like funny on the internet and like his posts on Facebook and shit like that. You know?
I'll be too nervous to be funny on the internet. People be crying about everything.
I know, right?
Oh man, I got some good jokes.
Hakim's like, everyone's missing out.
Yep. Might find them.
I'll keep my jokes to myself.
Yep. I told everybody, since they was being so mean to me about my movie taste, now we got the government shut down. Look at that. Karma. Instant karma.
So Grace, when did you first meet Hakim?
Probably in this apartment at some point.
Hell yeah. Isn't it gonna be funny, Grace, that this apartment will be like legendary, like
Oh,
historically?
yes.
Like,
Absolutely. That's why when you were opening your studio up to people, I was like, it's too early.
right.
It's pretty historical. This is going to be, I mean, this building's already historical. But,
Right.
But, like,
Big
they're going to
facts.
make a museum out of that dingy basement.
Right, exactly. That hellhole. Everybody's like, oh, you have a studio downtown. I'm like, yeah, but, you know, everything that glitter ain't gold.
Yeah.
It's great. Trust me.
Downtown
I'm
doesn't
very
mean
appreciative
anything.
of it. But
no, yeah, I remember when you opened up that studio too, because I lived in the apartment above it.
yeah.
And it was only like a few weeks or months into you working down there that I was like, hey, can you like not play music?
Right.
It usually didn't bother me.
Right, exactly. That was hilarious. I remember that. I was like, I'm so sorry, Grace.
Nah, yeah.
So what I learned from that, Grace, is like I give a piece of artwork to the neighbor that.
Hey, there you go.
Every time.
That works.
Is that like, and they're always like, oh yeah, no big deal. You're fine, Brian. Never bothered. But I learned that from like, oh, because Grace and I did this one thing, Hakim, where we actually like tested to see how
loud you could get.
Yeah, how loud it could be. And Grace was like, okay, that's a little too loud.
Yeah, you know.
He's socking that nigga in the head.
Right.
These graphics are like ugly, but like beautiful.
Nah, they're amazing.
The time.
Yeah.
I really love the color.
Yeah, Hakim's a hater.
It's a little. I think it's a little magenta on my recording, just so.
That's okay.
That's cool.
But I only know that because I edit video.
Mm.
But yeah, I really miss living in this building, dude. Like that apartment I had was like if I, were to live in Columbus long term again, which I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but I would definitely want to live here again.
Yeah.
Because it was also like, I lived here at a point when, like, I sort of left a community and felt alone, and I had also just graduated from college, so it was like so many things in my life were changing so dramatically at the same time.
Right.
That like coming here. And my brother recommended this apartment building because he used to live here and he liked living here. And like meeting you and working at the museum and meeting like a whole other community of people.
Yeah, it's kind of like a subculture within the art world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like that's the thing, Grace, is like when I moved here in like '99, believe that, right?
In this apartment?
Yeah, not this personal apartment, but in the Belmont.
Okay.
Is like all old retired people, so they would sit on the front porch and like drink coffee and smoke cigarettes in the morning. It was like that type of environment.
So nice.
Oh, it was amazing. And they always had the artists that lived here, but it was like artists and old people, But I'm talking like it was mostly dominated by older people. And you can see the landscape now because we have condos downtown now, all that kind of shit. So like you have a lot of more like working class, like white collar working class people living here now. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting to see how it shifted like over 20 years now, which is crazy, which shows you like my age, right? Or how long I've been doing this thing, this art thing.
Too long, man.
Right.
You gotta retire.
Yeah, I'm trying to. The day I quit working a job was the day I retired, right?
I'm not retired. I'm not retired too.
Hakim, you retired at like 22, bro.
Hakim, I love how, like, on social media, you're just like, I'm living the dream, man. And your tweets recently are so positive. I'm like, I wish I could think that way.
I mean, you can't, if you keep telling yourself that it's going to be a good day every day, eventually it's going to be.
So you're saying that a broken clock is
right
twice a day?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying, Hakim?
I'm telling you for a fact. I'm telling you. Just say it every day and it'll be true.
Right. So if you guys notice on this video game thing, we're going to switch games now because I'm beating the bricks out of Hakim.
You lost the first one.
That's because I was giving you a break, bro. Yeah. Now watch. It's like, just beat the bricks off this dude. Look. No chance. Like, okay, he got one hit.
That's
like,
all I need.
Look, the nigga can't budge.
All I need.
But this is how
okay.
So this is symbolic.
All right, y'all. Let's look at our controllers. Now let's look at Brian's controller. Up there's where the camera is. Now, if you notice, Brian's controller has many more buttons than mine.
Bro, no. Bro, it's just...
okay. I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to bring it up.
So we can switch controllers and you'll get the bricks beat off you still, bro. Okay, now everyone, I'm on the player 2 side.
Let me learn how to work this controller
first. Yeah.
It's got so many more buttons.
Great.
Look at that. It's like a soundboard.
So
that is like a soundboard.
Hold on, let me cut the bass up.
Wait.
So Grace,
I don't know what this is.
Right. So Grace, this is our relationship with me and Hakim. But constantly. This is symbolic of our relationship.
Dude, one of the biggest fuck-ups of my life is not hanging out with y'all more.
Miguel, one of my biggest fuck-ups of my life is not hanging out with me more. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, you're not, because you need more alone time.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, thank you, Grace. Thank you for that rebound.
You know I have your
Grace
back.
was there with the alley-oop on that
I have your emotional back on
this. Okay, so I've learned a couple of the buttons.
if you see, I still beat the bricks off of Hakim.
Wait till why you got it set on slow now?
Now listen,
why is it set on slow?
You did that,
put the bass up.
So like the thing is,
the treble back up.
But like, check this out, guys. I've been playing this game since I was fucking
since Nam.
Yeah, no, basically. So like, Hakim has an older brother. We're the same age, so like, there's always a context for Hakim and our relationship. And it's like, it's not even big bro. It's not even that. Like, that's like corny. It's like,
yeah,
I just been here longer. That's all. But like, what Hakim's doing and what he's learned, like, but the best example I could say is like, Hakim posted on Facebook. It was like, oh, I want to know, can anyone tell me older artists in Columbus? I want to work with them. And I didn't even see the fucking post. I got a message immediately from Jeff Sims, and he was like, Hakim's really smart. Like, I never see any young people reaching out to older artists, older people to work with. And I was like, that's Hakim's,
I think that requires,
intuition.
like, wisdom, foresight, and humility that a lot of people don't have.
Okay, y'all saw that perfect.
What button is blocked?
So this nigga said, what is blocked? Back, Hakim. Back. It's alright, Hakim. This isn't your game. I defended you already, bro. As much as I'm beating your ass, I had your back already and told him.
He's just butthurt because he's been training real hard in Smash. And
when we get over to Smash.
Street Fighter.
Okay, fair enough. When we get over to Smash, we'll probably beat the shit out of
Oh man, it's gonna be
Sorry,
bad.
Grace, for younger here, by the way.
It's gonna be
No,
bad.
what do you get this? What I'm here for?
No. Yeah, Grace is like, no, I'm here.
I have no like
fine.
illusions about what's going on.
Right.
What I
I gotta
wanted to.
decode
Grace is like, I know what I walked
Never
into.
apologize for yourself. Come on.
Alright, here we go. Alright, so this is the last round, Hakim. Then we'll switch over to another game because you have to look like you're good at games, bro. Because I'm literally just like, this isn't even fair anymore.
It's cool.
I mean, it is a
I know
very
it's
big
cool.
bro dynamic, though.
In this game, at least, you know.
Yeah.
But like, Hakim's really good at fucking video games. Like, that's the thing. Like, Hakim doesn't like basic primitive games.
All right. Where does visual art and video games intersect?
Every part of it.
Talk about it.
Actually, you go ahead,
watching the stream.
Hakim, you go ahead.
It's all
Okay.
it's all drawn and animated.
Actually, Hakim, can I say my shit real quick?
Go
Because it's
ahead.
short.
No,
Go
like
ahead.
not
I would
like
hate to
literally
talk.
and not
I
in
would hate to
craft.
talk on the
but,
podcast.
like,
No, my bad. I'm sorry. No, mine's really quick. I actually try to keep it separated because I need a space to where I'm not,
doing art.
yeah, like influenced by
Yeah.
something, you know. So I try to literally keep it separated, but it does happen, you know. But I try to keep it separated as much as possible. Okay, Hakim, you have the floor for the next like 20 minutes, bro. Go ahead, go ham.
Hello, everyone. If you haven't heard me speak yet,
My name is
I'm
Jamal.
Hakim.
He never uses it because he'll never get a job. Saying
I already can't get a job with
fuck.
Hakim. I sound like I
I'ma
sound too foreign.
I'm gonna switch it out real quick, alright?
Let's switch it out.
When,
Yeah,
no
I
pun
felt bad
intended.
because you couldn't see the health bars because of the camera anyway.
Oh no, we're good.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, the game's all animated and stuff, and that just being.
Art.
Alright.
Where does art and video gaming intersect?
Yeah.
As a practice and a philosophy and a mindset.
Yeah, video games is sweet. Nah. I mean, it's the whole video game is all art. Like it's the video aspect.
Okay,
is non-stop
obviously. But I mean, like, I feel like a lot of artists play video games, and I feel like video games are important to a lot of artists.
art. I would say that's where I started. One of the inspirations to make art. One of mine. Was the comics and video games and cartoons. So the reasons that I decided to make art.
You still did not answer Grace's question. Do we help
I
him?
was gonna ask you to elaborate a nicer way, but
do we help him out, Grace?
I mean, if you feel like you need help,
Yeah, no, he does. So it has to be more direct. No, it's not about that. No, it's family.
Why would I answer my own question?
Listen, it's family. We're family. It don't matter. So Hakim, what was the first video game that impacted you, where you saw like, kind of like your first film you saw? We were talking about that one time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, when did you recognize video games are art and that they were impacting you?
Well, from the beginning, that's why I said that it's all art.
No. What game?
Which specific game?
Yeah. What system? Let's start there. No pressure.
I'll probably like Final Fantasy VII.
I feel you on that. So then,
What about Final Fantasy VII?
I think it was probably the biggest game that I played at that point. Like the world was huge. Like the fighting was like complex. Like you could like equip all this stuff to do this and that. And then they had these fancy ass cutscenes, which looking back ain't that fancy. But at the time, it was just like, what? I think it was like going in a trolley somewhere. And it was just looking mad beautiful.
And so then after that, so that's PlayStation 1 era. So then after that, you're like, all right, I want more of this.
Right.
So you had like, was it like Legend of Dragoon?
Yeah, that was the same time period.
Right.
Oh shit! Hold on.
Squeak it in.
I didn't play that until
PS2.
PS2.
Oh really? So Squeak it in 3.
Nah, whichever one everybody hates.
Yeah, that's a trash one.
It's like 5 or something.
Dude, I don't think we were recording audio through all of that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's cool. It was just Bryan.
Wait, let me try one. It's just Bryan talking.
Oh no, I'd be talking. Hakim hears me too much.
Damn, I can't make this video thing bigger.
Which one, Grace?
I'm trying to switch to a different video.
I still messed up Grace's.
You broke the whole thing.
I broke the internet.
Alright, let's try this. Oh, but then you can't see Yoshi. Alright, this is good. Oh! Ooh. Okay. Now we're actually starting over. Ready? Okay. So, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Great game. Looked beautiful. Very large. Like the world itself large. The gameplay, the story was big. The battle was complicated. I was like, I feel like that was the first time I was really like being captured by a game. Which I had already played a bunch of games before, but they had never made that big of an impact before.
I wonder if I felt the same thing when I played the new Zelda game, because I only recently got into gaming. And like, there was specific, like, not only was the world building beautiful, like, aesthetically, and also having, like, that immersive world play experience of, like, having to craft things in order to do things was, like, super...
Which Zelda game are you talking about, Grace?
Fucking Breath of the Wild.
No, I know that, but for the viewer.
No. Who's the host here?
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm sorry.
I
my
mean,
age is showing. No, my age is showing, obviously.
But like the aspect of memory like really spoke a lot to me because I have a hard time with memory. Like I don't really remember anything before 5 years ago, and even then like my long-term memory is pretty spotty. So that affects my sense of identity and affects my sense of self, right? And I feel like Link was going through the same fucking thing.
Yeah, big fan.
And so like when he had to recover memories and like had a concrete tool to be able to do that, I was like emotionally invested in that part of the narrative of the game because like I really wished that I had something like that. And I could have if I like kept journals and stuff like we were talking about earlier, but I screwed myself in that way. Like with this meme going around, like 10 years ago versus today.
Right.
Like 2009 versus 19. Or 2019. I had no context for what 2009 was for me until like my best friend from high school tweeted a photo of us at like a school field trip, and I was like, oh, like we were in our junior year of high school and like we were just goofy and having fun and maybe partying a little bit too much, but like I honestly like did not know where I was in 2009 until she posted that picture, and I was like, damn. Like, which I think it sounds kind of a little bit shitty or tragic, but really it's a blessing in disguise because then I'm able to like constantly reinvent myself, and I don't have to. My identity is based in my philosophy and my morality. It's like not dependent on what I've been through or what my traumas are. It's like how I work through my traumas every day.
Right.
Sort of a thing.
No, that makes perfect sense.
And now people are afraid of me because I'm so strong.
You leveled up.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And I remember people saying they were afraid of me my freshman year of college when they first met me. which is funny to me because I was so like obviously insecure, but I guess I compensated for that by being like really aggro. But whatever.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think so, and I always relate that. It's interesting you bring that up, Grace, because I relate a lot of that to because a lot of people feel the desire to remember, and like in human nature, this goes back to psychology. Our human nature, the idea sometimes of healing is by forgetting. So a lot of people who are victims in the world of whatever, whether it's, I can't speak on the behalf of like people who have been, attacked or sexually attacked by people, but even with that, like a lot of times you can't even remember the person's name or any of that. Like sometimes that's how you get through trauma in a lot of ways, so there is something to be said about that, even if it sounds kind of like not dismissive, but maybe not romantic in the sense of, or like maybe,
I mean, the Kavanaugh trials are a good example of that, right? And that's like a public thing that we can all find information on.
Right.
It's like Dr. Ford didn't remember like what day it was or who was there, but she did, like, her brain implanted like all these specific memories that were tied to her like adrenaline and stuff. That's just how the brain works.
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of times, what I tell students, especially like black males, because they have this heavy burden of like identity because they don't have a home, right? They don't have an identity. We're speaking of slavery at this point. Where are they from in Africa? Blah blah blah. Those kind of things, right? So if you look at a lot of plights of white people, they can tell you like, oh yeah. And sorry to veer on this angle.
Don't apologize for anything.
So they can tell you like, oh yeah, I'm Irish and this. They can tell you their plight. But what comes a lot of times with that is like this responsibility from their parents to like live up to the name or succeed, right? So blacks,
I feel like black people deal with that though, right?
What I'm saying is they lack the identity a lot of times. I'm not speaking for all. I'm speaking to like people who I deal with who deal with trauma for lack of identity, like, or representation. And a lot of times the beauty of it is that you have the ability to do whatever you want. You have more agency, more freedom. So there comes a responsibility with what do you want to do with that freedom versus, being forced to go to college or forced to being a lawyer, forced to doing something you don't want to do, working for the family, right? Yeah. These kind of things. Naya said this isn't exclusive, but it's very applicable to a lot of people in the same context of like broken memories or shattered memories, or that kind of thing. Reinventing yourself, going back to that.
Yeah, like the one constant I have is like Irish music, because I am Irish.
Right.
And like the other night I dragged my partner out to see this band who like is probably the band I've seen the most in my life, and like I have watched them ever since I can remember, which is not very far. But like I know their songs and I like love their jams, and that's like one of the few things where I can like be outside of myself but know that I'm still in myself, because I know that like since I was maybe 12 or something, like I'd been watching this band and I know this band. And like I just talked to them like between sets the other night, and like they recognize, and that's the nice thing about community too, right? It's like I feel like, I don't know, I can't speak to like other people's experiences with community, but it's really nice to be in the Irish community and to like have that feeling of people like recognizing you, even from if they hadn't seen you in like 5 years. They're like, oh yeah, you're like this person's kid, and like I remember you danced with this academy, and like that kind of stuff. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it is really cool.
And so it's interesting that we bring all this up, because like I think the thing that is cool about Hakim is that he has a history, he has identity. Like, so Hakim's dad is from the Virgin Islands, and Hakim, you can jump in any time. But I think the fact that Hakim knows these things, that's like a level of confidence and leg up. He knows, what his job is at that point. Go ahead, Hakim.
I don't know, I was just listening. I was going...
No, like, talk about, like, because you would... A lot of people know that you would travel back to the Virgin Islands.
Yeah. I mean,
every year.
it really doesn't come up in conversation that much. But yeah, I was born here, but I lived there when I was like a little kid, like kindergarten and stuff. And then once I got older, I lived in Tennessee for a while with my grandma on her farm, and that was cool. It was kind of boring.
It's the South.
Yeah, and then I came back here and lived, but I would go back there to the Virgin Islands, St. Croix and St. Thomas for the most part, every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was cool. It was a great place, beautiful place, and it's just a cool experience. I think what I got that's valuable is that I've experienced a bunch of different types of lifestyles, like living at home or living with friends or living in the Virgin Islands, living in Tennessee and all that.
Your world's a lot bigger.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate all that kind of stuff.
But how did that affect you when you went back to the hood and you were trying to like talk to people and be like, nah man, the world's bigger than this?
Really? I don't know.
I'm not saying that they needed that or that you even had that conversation, but like I'm sure you could see it though, just from like, oh shit, I visited my dad this summer and I come back here and like, you know, same shit, different day kind of thing.
It never really felt like a big deal. You know, the people who I would talk to about already knew it,
right?
Like about me,
right?
But I could definitely see there's a difference between people who haven't traveled ever, because you think, I don't know.
Usually I have this conversation with
yeah, no, that's why I bring it up with Hakim. It's like, yo, Hakim's worldly. These are big facts.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's so normal to me because it's my life. So I don't rarely ever think about it.
Well, what's like the difference?
Well, when you don't travel ever, I feel like you can't see. It's harder to see other people's perspectives because our perspective is going to be similar because we're in the same city. Regardless of, you know, black, white, girl, guy, all that other stuff is going to be different, but for the pretty much part, it's going to be, we have the same weather, the same politics and stuff like that. But if you go somewhere else, it could be 100% different than what you're used to. And it's just like, wow, it's possible for this and this to happen. Because it seems like some things are impossible here in Columbus, like earthquakes. We don't have earthquakes. Or we'll have tornado alerts, but I've never ever felt actual fear of a tornado.
Right.
And so it's almost to the point where you're like, well, it's not real.
Yeah, it's not.
Because it's not real to you. But then you live someplace where they do have earthquakes, and then you're like, oh my god.
Like, shit, I gotta prepare.
Or maybe even, you know, earthquake happened, you're all terrified and stuff, and you've never felt that feeling before.
What's the second language there, Hakim?
In Virgin Islands, they speak English.
No, second language. Do they have a second language? Okay, yeah.
Because it's so close to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's extremely close to Puerto Rico. So they have a lot of the similar cultures.
Right, yeah. And like Ibelize is English. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Grace, have you traveled anywhere?
Yeah, I lived in Germany in college.
Do you speak German?
That's sweet.
Kind of super good
Right, there you go.
A bunch of like old German people would yell at me because I lived in like a small town. So a bunch of German people would yell at me for not knowing German and like coming to Germany, and I was like, bro,
they're like aggressive.
Like, I am American, and you know how we are.
Right? Yeah.
I'm clearly American.
Right. You dealt with enough of us.
Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to not like leave trash around.
Right. I'm not trying to insult you. It's hard to learn languages. It's really hard.
But that was more challenging on a personal level because I spent a lot of time alone for the first time in a long time, and like I dealt with the one thing I do remember from my childhood is like dealing with homesickness at summer camps, which is like,
oh my gosh,
privilege, whatever. But
no, I feel homesick. Anyone can get homesick. I feel you on that.
It was so hard. Like, that was my first trial with figuring out how to manage like mental and emotional well-being, because my parents really didn't teach me that, and so like I had to develop survival mechanisms to deal with like being at camp as a get it.
Yeah, I mean,
like being at you are being like,
yeah, I'm like sucking hardcore.
With like being at camp as a child.
Yeah, it's like, dude.
But then I had to deal with that again in Germany as an adult, and it was like sort of make it or break it. I don't know. I like wanted to go home at some point, but I'm glad I didn't, because I learned how to like be in the moment, because I knew if I thought about the past, I got depressed, and if I thought about the future, I got anxious. And I also, like, my coping mechanism would be to like make art every day, and I like had to
cool.
make myself like I had to make 3 meals, I had to go on a walk, and I had to like paint or make photos every day.
Well, you were doing art 24/7 then. Cooking's
That's
art.
one time
Cooking's
I did
art.
journal. I had this calendar on a wall where I like cut up slips of paper and I put them on the wall to represent each day I would be there. And I like wrote something about that day and took it off the wall at the end of the day. And I still have those somewhere, but they're out of order at this point.
Okay, so everyone right now, Hakim has to draw on the screen. It shows you his drawing skills.
It's a butt, right?
Yeah, I think he has to draw like one of those icons. Or he can pick an icon, but if, let's say, you gotta draw a space boy, Hakim.
Okay.
He can just make Space Boy out of nothing.
Let's hope so.
Or were you gonna
He's
make
drawing
Space Boy
penises,
anyway?
actually, is what he's drawing.
Oh, is that a ball?
Yeah.
That's a big ball.
Huge one.
Yeah, so leave it to a guy. It's like primitive. This game, the only thing that will survive during the nuclear holocaust is this game.
Hakim's art and stuff. At Hakim's art and stuff. If you need art, you see what I can do here. I don't need a resume. I
Well,
don't
it's
need
kind
a
of symbolic
portfolio.
of this game. You're knocking a ball in a hole, so
I have no clue
Oh,
what I'm
there you
playing.
go.
I have no clue what I'm playing.
you're Kirby. You have to get the ball in the hole.
Whoa, this is. I love
Am
seeing.
I the ball?
I love like
Yes!
seeing 3D
Where's the hole?
graphics in play in old games like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is advanced for whatever it came out. Where's the hole at?
you have to discover it.
Shut the f***.
That's like
So you.
fucking when
This
you're
is stupid.
a teen or whatever.
This is stupid.
Right?
Yes, this is a bit. Hakim's going back to being a teenager.
Where's the clit
Hakim's
at?
learning his
Nobody knows.
He's
Nobody
losing his
knows.
virginity. Let's see how well he
So
does.
am I
So
supposed to hit these orange things?
Yeah, you have to hit those guys.
You said this. You were very vague.
I said
Now I'm
you have
on
to
hit
discover.
2. All you
See?
said was discover.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
cool.
like,
I'm gonna wrap it
I'm,
up right here.
I'm
I'm gonna wrap it up
marketing.
right
It's
here.
about the journey.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
wrap it up right
exactly.
here.
There you go, buddy.
That's what people who like Lord of the Rings movies say.
Grace
It's
does
all
like.
Wait,
about
what?
the journey.
Oh
It's all
yeah.
about the
Look
journey.
at, I see you, Hakim.
I'm not that
Oh,
sweet.
you do have to discover it, don't you?
Am I supposed to go back and pick up them stars too?
Well, if you're good, you would have got them all at the same time. Now you overhit.
But when I hit them, the star didn't
Right,
come
right.
out. The star didn't get collected too.
I know, bro. This is how the game works, bro. Game recognized game.
My X button don't work.
Oh bullshit! You
Right.
always blame the controller when you can't
Just
play
tap
the game.
it. Just tap it real quick. There you go. Not that. It's off.
Good thing I followed your advice. Led me straight to victory.
It got you this far.
It got me straight to victory. Woo! Only took 6 times. Hey, recognize the icon though.
Yo, facts, bro. You did it.
Mm-hmm.
This game, you picked a good one, Hakim.
They need to make a new character.
See, like you're gonna have to censor this, Grace, when you put it online. He's making your
Oh,
job even
God
harder.
damn it.
He's making your
That
job
could
harder.
be anything. It looked like
That
a
could be anything.
camel. It looked like a
That
sphinx.
could be a guy with big shoes on and a hat.
Yeah. I see a shoe.
I see the age difference between these two and me
Yeah.
on this couch.
I see the hater difference.
Is Grace like the great equalizer? She's like the
That's why I'm
Puritan
sitting in the
angel.
middle.
The hater
Sit
amount
down.
over here is 0.
I see-
Alright, Brian.
Yes.
We were talking about living our truths when we were taking a break.
Mm-hmm.
Should we
I
talk
see
about
this
that
thing.
now, or
Yes.
just
Go
leave
ahead.
it?
No, we can talk about it. It's up to you. If
Oh,
it's too
you killed
exhausting.
Kirby.
I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could die.
I was just hoping that would be a prompt to lead you to talk for a while.
Got it. Okay. Oh, I can talk a while. That's
I
never
know
an
you
issue.
can.
Yeah, I have a lot to
There we
say.
go.
So I rarely talk.
What do you mean you
Right.
rarely talk? You always talk.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like jiving. So, to live your truth.
Yeah.
Give me a better prompt. Something a little bit more.
And
All
then
right,
pick
so
up
we
the
were
star.
we were talking about a situation where someone I know, I was talking about like trans and LGBT local politics, kind of loud because I tend to talk loud. And I spend a lot of time with this person, and they had never told me to quiet my voice until I started talking about these issues, and I was like, okay, like I feel like that can only be about one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how I couldn't really call this person out for like reasons of the situation in which we interact.
Right.
But that, like, I don't know, was the point that I, like, knew that I knew, it's like the feeling of you know what you know, and you know when people are safe to be around and when they're not.
Right.
And it's like, because we started talking about living your truth, and then I interrupted.
Well, no. You're right. I feel you on that, because at that point, it's like, when I said, nah, like, you have to talk that shit, like, live your truth, you know? Because it's like, whatever, like, is, like, deep within you, or we're talking, like, in the subconscious, like, something you feel.
This is a difficult game.
And the way, what, golf is difficult?
Yes.
You better be Tiger Woods. So what happens is, like, so when you're growing up, you'll test your intuition. And what I mean by this is that you'll, like, things will reaffirm. So you'll think one thing, and then it's affirmed, right? And you're like, oh, I don't know what that is, but your intuition, right? Mm-hmm. So that molds your identity and your truth, right? Now, the problem with that is that, guess what? No one has your experiences. No one's going to understand. They're like, look at you fucking crazy. And like, so your truth, you're going to have to defend it always. You know what I mean? And so the worst thing you can do as an artist, as a person, is to censor yourself. Now, and we're talking when you're pure of heart. We're not talking about, you know, just like getting clicks and likes and stuff like that. We're not talking about like pandering. We're talking about like what allows you to sleep at night. You know what I mean? So if you honor that, if you honor your truth, then good things will happen, right? Now, bad things will happen. You know, a lot of people don't take the two hand in hand. So what happens is that you have to have the ability to be able to handle, nice one, Hakim.
Thank you.
You have to be able to, when those hard times come, you'll have to be able to manage that, right? But during the positive times, living your truth, when you can impact people positively and they can like be inspired by you, you know, because that builds, you know, influence, relationships, that allows other people to inspire, that you inspire other people, you know, and that's why those things are critical, you know. So if you don't live your truth, you know, that's why things can come up like, you know, sickness, illness, you know, those things will attack you. Now, do those things happen naturally? You went way too far. Oh, my bad. You got this.
I'm trying to, bro. 6 is my best so far.
You alright. So when you can like live and breathe that through the positive and the negative, then you're definitely making changes in the world. And a lot of times what happens is that people will see injustice. So they'll see things like, you know, someone getting killed and they want to like do something about it. A lot of times what you have to do is remember your path, because what your path is to like maybe not react to the world, but to put out more positive energy. So that means maybe you need to make 5 more art pieces. Maybe you need to check in on your friends. Maybe you need to take out a day out to just drink smoothies and go work out. You know what I mean? It could be something that simple. So like, and to go one step beyond that, in the context of like metaphysics, those things resonate. Because like I said, there's a subtext with you, and there's a subtext to the universe and to everything you live in. And that comes down to the brass tacks. So that's why I mean, like, you have to be pure.
But I feel like when things are hard, like living your truth makes getting through the hard times easier too. Or
no,
maybe not easier, but like more honest and real and gripping and less like psychologically confusing and gaslighty and devastating.
Yeah, no, true. And honestly, as you go through life, things do become easier. And what happens is that you wish for those moments where there are, whether it's like failure or negative impact, because that allows learning. So as long as you take that time and you're willing to learn, then you can grow. And like as you get further in your path, what happens is that it becomes more efficient, meaning like you start getting more positive impacts than negative impacts. So when you get those negative impacts later on, you see that as learning. You're not seeing it as a, you know, like, oh shit,
totally
like
negative.
Yeah, like, oh, my life's over, it's ruined. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
It's like less of a negative thing and more of a challenge.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
How am I gonna deal with this challenge?
And like, so it's like something that should be inspiring a lot of times, but it's hard, you know? I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely hard, but you have to. If not, you're just gonna work a day job. A day job's fine.
Yeah.
But you get my point. Like, you're going to do something you don't like to do.
Or I'm thinking about some close personal relationships I have right now, and like with people who I really value and whose input I appreciate. But like I have to live my truth every day, because if I don't, then like as a queer and trans person, I will literally like torture myself.
Yeah.
But also, what has ended up happening is that like people who have a hard time like dealing with a truth or with like understanding when someone is like living their truth and stands by their morals, because I feel like it gets to a point, and now I'm putting my drink down so it's getting real, right?
Oh, you're good.
It gets to a point where like you have people who are living their truths by their own morals and by their own standards, and they have a code of conduct for themselves that they developed for themselves. And if you are interacting with this person and you understand that about them and you understand their code of conduct and their morals, then it becomes a little bit easier to like interact with that person.
Yeah.
And to appreciate them for having that set of morals and that code of conduct. But then you have these people who ascribe to a code of conduct that's set down by like society or religion, or they sort of use a cheat of a certain philosophy in order to not have to think for themselves. And then when they're challenged on their code of conduct or their beliefs, they default to like, well, my religion says this, my society says this, and then those people get defensive. And what I have found is that they're afraid of me, because I have my own code of conduct and I have my own morals and my own philosophy. And like I don't have time for those people.
No, I feel you on that.
Is the short of it. And the long of it is that like I have some people like that in my personal life who are very close to me, and I have to set like healthy boundaries and to figure out a way to like divorce my time and my energy and my like emotional capacity from those people, because it's not up to me to like challenge them to like determine their own moral conduct, and it's not up to me to help them determine their own moral conduct.
No, that makes sense.
Which is like a hard fucking thing for me to like tell these people in my life. Is I've literally had to tell them like, you are going through a change right now, and you are being challenged, and you are having to like discover who you are and figure that out. And I don't want to be a part of that. I like care about you, and I love you, and I want what's best for you, but you need to tell me what's best for you. And then I can support that. And I need you to know that and to believe that. No,
that makes perfect sense. And, that's what
mostly, honestly, because like my code of conduct is fucked up and weird. It is like satanic and hedonistic, and I wouldn't ask that of a lot of people. It's like ridiculous.
Well, I think like a lot of part of that, like, the way, because like I always put myself in other people's shoes, right? And what I mean by that, Grace, is like, you know, I actually like sincerely try to understand, like, you know, someone who would like vote for Trump, like, and we're talking like not politically, we're saying like wholeheartedly like believing in the dogma, right? I try to even like understand that perspective, right? And it's not even necessarily that you have to spend a lot of time on it, because like I say this a lot, like I learn from something from everybody, you know, but mostly it's nothing. You know what I mean? And like what it comes down to a lot of times is like, it's like, oh, like I'm open, but like I'm seeing what it's delivering. And like a lot of times like when people subscribe to like a dogma, because like actually let me redefine that. Systems. So like there's systems, everything's a system. You can make your own system. You make your own system, obviously. Which is defining things by your own terms, right? So it's like,
but if you honestly like interrogate the ethos of a system, and you honestly can say like, yes, I believe the ethos of the system for these reasons, like I can respect that. But if you are saying that like this ethos is what I like have been exposed to, and it's what's easy for me to believe, like I don't respect that.
I mean it's hard to swallow the pill of like a privilege, right? Because like to have the ability to like skate through life and to to subscribe to what you can read in a book or what you've been taught at a college or like by your forefathers or by your parents or whoever, is pretty, like, to me, that's like a very strong privilege. I inherently don't have I question everything. You know, so like I don't have all the answers. No one does. So I'm always open, right? So I do more receiving than I do giving, right? And so like, but I know my foundation.
That's not true. You do a lot of giving.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But what I mean is like, based upon my system, my output, my giving is like an expression of art. We'll keep it like simple. Okay. And so it's like, with that, the goal is to like find that connection with other people. Like, what's your expression? So when they're missing that expression, which based upon a privilege or a system, then it's unfortunate, right? Because you're like, man, shit, like the world's changing and they're going to get left behind, right? Or the world's changing and they're molding it and influencing it and impacting people.
Or they're going to be like taken along with the current.
Yeah, and they don't survive. Yeah, it's really sad. And it's not even ego or arrogance, but I don't have the authority to say that they're wrong or right. All I'm saying is like, okay, like this is working for you because it's based upon something that worked for like 4 generations for you. Hope you're happy with that. You know, enjoy your medication. You know what I mean? And that's not a diss to anyone, but it's literally just like, okay, like they're not giving much, right? So like that's the relationship. It's like giving and taking, you know, inputs and outputs, going back to that system idea. And not to make things mechanical, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like that's how people operate there. They react and respond. So when people react and respond off their environment, a lot of times that's like usually a red flag for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that reacting as opposed to reflecting.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I'm not gonna like react to like somebody slaying a person that looks like me. Yes, it hurts. It's devastating. I cry. But I'm like, okay, let me focus because they're trying to redirect my energy. Let me continue upon my path and impact the people around me in my community so I can build that. And that resonates outward. You know, that goes way further than like, but it's difficult, right? Because you see numbers. Like you're seeing like people who are like responding to like the plight of situations at the moment and they're getting like millions of views, they're getting all this money, and you're just like, but that's not the reality. You know, the reality is like what you create. That's the true reality. So you can either play in somebody else's playground or you can make your own playground.
Yeah.
You know, and
not to mention that like a lot of information and news we're exposed to, like most of the time it doesn't necessarily like direct your life.
Right, exactly. It doesn't impact
your life.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like,
obviously, we're living in a fucking hellhole under this administration, so a lot of times it does, but, like, before 2016.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, like, and that's, like, what I personally think all three of us do. We create and define, you know, so we're doing our streams, you know.
Or, like, even when I feel like I'm not making art, like, my goal every day is to, like, have a positive interaction with a stranger, and thankfully working in the service industry, like, that's easy.
Yep.
But like not knowing a person's like philosophical view or political view or praxis or like code of conduct makes it easier for me to just try to be like decent to people in an everyday interaction. Yeah,
and that goes back to like, you know, you definitely, a lot of people have a hard time because there's this weird phenomenon that happens with like, you know, people like see all this shit on the internet based upon what they follow and what they're into, versus when they go outside and that reality doesn't reflect that, right? And so it's like very disorienting. And a lot of times for me, you know, even though like it's funny because my internet influence and presence and like activity is pretty impactful, but it doesn't even, I don't even think about it. It's not even like a part of my reality because I deal with like going outside and interacting with people. That's like where I respond personally.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of like inverse correlation with how people build a social media presence, right? Between like going out, and like meeting people and gaining followers that way, so people know who you are like as a person before they know who you are as a social media presence. And the other way, which is like people who are a social media presence, they develop that, and then you meet them in real life and you know who they are.
Right.
Not to put any judgment on either way, because like influencers have to hustle, and I respect that hustle, but like it's just like a weird inverse thing that we're not living right now.
Exactly. And Hakim and I are suck him up, Hakim.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. So like what Hakim and I do, like so our number, like we know people locally who have like 4 or 5 times the amount of followers we have, but like we bank on the fact that we have we have a committed like 300. Right? Isn't that amazing?
Check that out.
That's so disturbing.
So Hakim and I have a base that supports us, so we don't have to veer far from our base, even if our numbers don't reflect like the hype. You know what I mean? Like So, and I think that's where Hakim and I figured out like working together, impacting, and like even with us, Grace, like doing this, it's like. I would expect Hakim, like, if Hakim wasn't here, there would be something wrong, you know what I mean? In the context of, like, originally it was just, like, us, like, oh, yeah, let's come on over. It's like, oh, yeah, Hakim's here, He's supposed to be here, you know what I mean?
Like,
that's
in a cosmic, predetermined way?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or in a Hakim's, like, here half the time?
No. Metaphysical, cosmic. Yeah, no, Hakim's actually Hakim and I actually don't hang out that much or like see each other that much because we're always busy.
Yeah, we're really busy. Right?
I haven't seen Hakim for like a week or so, like maybe more. Oh no, I saw him on Sunday.
I catch you when I'm here working sometimes.
Yeah, but we actually don't talk that much. Like it's like, oh yeah, he's here, no problem. But it goes back to like he's allowed. It's whatever, if he's here, he's here. There's not any question. So yeah, it's pretty interesting in that context.
I feel like, alright, so I heard this saying from some new age, a couple different new age fucking hippy dippy weirdos that, how like 2012 was supposed to be the end of the world?
Oh yeah, it did happen.
Is that it actually was.
Yeah, it happened.
And instead of being the end of the material world, it was the end of a paradigm. And like now we are seeing the results of the death of that paradigm, and we are like having to live through the difficult phase of like understanding what the new paradigm is.
Yeah.
And they would put these in like their weird new age cosmic terms, but like that was the fundamentals of it. And it's like honestly, that's like hard to argue against. From like 2016 to 2019, it's like there's some fucking weird shit going on. And
but honestly, I would even take it back further. I would take it back. When did Obama go into office?
2008, right?
I would tie to that because look at the other side, Grace. Like they were like. I mean, honestly, before a black president, we were all like, "What the fuck, a black president?"
Someone was telling me that like I know who's saying this, but someone was telling me that the Bill Clinton administration was like one of the first administrations where like our politics were like honestly seriously being divided between parties, and where people were like not willing to compromise on either side. Yeah,
I mean, Bill Clinton was kind of a bastard because like his second term he kind of went conservative. He was helping the conservatives more during his second term, and so it's kind of like crazy to see like a Democratic president in bed with like the Republicans, and that's where you get a lot of like the highest black population in prison. That's where a lot of that comes from, is that he was locking up like all the brown folks, Now it was more subtle. It wasn't overt like the Bush or Reagan administration,
but in like
he had
2016 where we're able to like look at that history and see how it impacted people.
Exactly.
It fucking hurts.
It hurts. It's and like. So yeah, I would take it back to Obama because, like I said, like I don't think anyone could predict a black president before it happened. In the sense of like the 2012 idea. But to push that even further, Grace, like I'm completely like in bed with that notion, and like the shift of the paradigm. And that takes us kind of back to like the Web 2.0. It was a construction of another world. So you have this world to escape, another avatar, another identity.
So is Web 1.0 just like
regular
the black
AOL.
Screen with like AOL?
Yeah, and before that,
that was social media.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like but it's not like social. When I speak of like social media, like there has to be like a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like social to me is a group of 12 people talking on a server, you know, like, at a college. But yeah, no, I'm with you, Grace. Like I feel you. You know what I mean? But like, there's a bit of a social thing when millions are involved, right? Okay, but I'm not dismissive of your point, you know. Yeah. But it's kind of like, you know, let's like inject some adrenaline in it kind of thing, you know? So I think like when we constructed another world that we can like, that it's like forms the Wild West, you know? And it's scary, it's redefined by its own terms, and the youth runs it, you know, they define it. And no one would have thought that the youth would have been like PC culture, so Noah was able to inject that fucking like, you know, mad cow disease into their fucking like DNA when they grew up in centuries of fucking like rape and fucking pillaging and running, you know, now you have to share a space. Like, what? This isn't like the real world? What the fuck? So it's literally breaking everyone's psyche. So that's why you have fucking random people driving a car through like a group of protesters. That's why you have a Dylan Roof, like, you know, attacking a fucking like church, you know what I mean? And then they take him to Burger King after that. You know, it's like, this is like the reality when something that injects itself into reality that no one can swallow. You know, it's a mad cow fucking disease. And so, like, everyone's trying to get a handle on it. So it's a realm of chaos, right? And that's why you see things like the Heath Ledger Joker being popular. You know, that kind of, those things resonate. An agent of chaos that's representative of the internet, right? Because how did, like, sorry to nerd out, but like, how did Batman defeat the agent of chaos? He used sonar through everyone's cell phones to locate him and find him and kill him, you know, or like pseudo kill him.
So that's surveillance, right?
Yeah, so it goes back to like this idea, right? Everyone owns drones now. No one gives a shit that like the government monitors their phone. Like, you know what I mean? Web 2.0, you have your own fucking world. You have your own avatar. You just change your avatar if somebody's after you. You know, you change your identity. That's what it's designed for. So yeah, I think it's definitely happened. You know, I see you, Hakim.
I'm trying.
Hakim ain't fucking around. Sorry, Grace, to like have that tangent for the moment, but like that's the reality.
Okay.
And like it's like I said, it's like mad cow disease. No one knows how to fucking, you know, stop it.
We'll figure it out. We're gonna pubescent stage.
Yeah, no, we definitely are, and that's why a Trump can. And like I said, Trump is like the smartest old man to be able to like use the fear, the
He's
zeitgeist.
Not smart. He's just manipulative.
Well, I mean that takes a level of intelligence, right?
Really?
Well, I mean the guy's definitely like. Well, because you don't have to like somebody to recognize, like, you know, because look at his history, like TV, mogul, these kind of things. Like, he had his hand in a lot of shit, right? So to watch him be...
Oh, what a sick whip, my dude! Oh, shit! Oh, look at you go! Oh, no!
It's a big...
Oh, you beat that big cat up!
Oh my god.
Damn,
the highest flex ever. A unimotor? That is hilarious.
So sweet.
So to see like this guy maneuver, he's banking on like a yesteryear, a person who grew up without the internet on their fears. You know what I mean? He's capturing a culture that all of us ignored during an Obama term.
Even if like those people who didn't grow up with the internet like aren't a majority of the population anymore, like I feel like people who did grow up with the internet and knew the internet like probably still are influenced by like the ideology of like the hundreds and thousands of years of people who like didn't have internet.
No, of course, yeah, because people with internet, their parents pay their fucking bills.
Like
their parents pay their fucking phone bills.
I fucking learned. I took typing classes in middle school after I had already taught myself how to type like technically incorrectly, but it still worked.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I was like, this is like the most ironic redundancy of how we are approaching technology. Like, and it's so frustrating.
Right.
And so like I hope that now like kids in school are learning how to suss through like reliable sources of media and information and stuff, but probably not, because the people who are teaching them like don't know how to do that.
Well, I mean, you always have to give the next generation credit because they're always smart. The next generation's always smarter than the previous one.
Thank fucking God.
And so like the same way that people would like use a TV as a babysitter for us, You know, so I don't want it to be attached, like, you know what I mean,
Well, now
Grace?
people use YouTube as babysitters, to be fair.
Yeah. And with that even, like I said, the next generation will, like, figure it out. You know, you trust in that. That always happens. Because that energy. I feel you, Grace. You know, I'm with you 100%. Because, like, you always want the best for, you know, the next person. But, yeah, I mean, it's no different from your generation. You know, people had fears of you guys. And you guys are doing better than any generation before.
What, millennials?
I mean, technically, I'm a millennial. So you're, like, third wave millennial, I think.
I don't care.
Yeah, I know, I don't either, but it's like, you know, I'm just like speaking in like definitive terms.
We're doing the best with what we have.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. Because like, and honestly, I think what it comes down to with like the, you know, current generation, and this would even be like beyond you and Hakim, it's like social intelligence. That's me by fusing that internet like knowledge with being able to communicate to people in reality. Because that's a lot of times where I see like hang-ups or glitches where people can't really like articulate themselves when they're dealing with people. But that goes for all young people, right?
Yeah.
You learn as you get older, you know. So let's switch conversations.
Yeah, let's talk about something
Hakim.
positive.
Well,
I want
Hakim's
to wrap up in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Hakim's collecting dust.
What's up, guys?
So Hakim, what do you think of Kirby Superstar?
I had a Kirby game on Game Boy or something.
I had
It was just like this. I could tell like mine was like the refined version.
Yeah.
But this is I've
So-
seen
so-
they've been using the same mechanics.
Yeah, but
not
Hakim,
bad.
but check this out, Hakim. What game were you playing earlier?
I don't know, Smash.
Smash.
Yeah, they use a lot of the same mechanics still. I mean, you know, that's part of the whole gist of Smash. It'd be all the same characters, all the same mechanics from all the games.
But the same guy who made the mechanics for Smash did the same mechanics for this game.
I can tell because they use a
It
bunch of
plays-
the same moves.
Yeah, it plays exactly the same,
Yep,
right?
exactly the
And
same.
this was made like 94, 95.
Yep. I've seen like at least 3 specific moves that I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
hate that move
because it has
today.
like a down smash.
Yep,
down
yep, the
Yeah.
sword thing.
Yeah. So it's
The tomato is from here.
Yeah. What is his name? It's no.
What is this thing chasing me? What's that E thing, man?
Oh, that's you do not play old school games. At all. It's a bonus.
Oh, let's go then.
E stands for enemy. In this case, I
Nigga,
guess.
you just said bonus.
Yeah, it is a bonus. Suck him up. You gotta suck him up so you get new power. You just froze me, bro. You just threw away your power. Now you got no powers.
He ain't gonna throw out?
Nah, bro. Bro, you wish.
Gonna throw out?
Nah,
It's
dude.
spring! Let's go. I didn't want his weak ass power. It wasn't that good, obviously. Obviously, I didn't even notice what it was. Man, I don't want you with me either.
Bro, you cannot be hating your companion. There you go. You're pretty much a natural at this.
I played the game before. Well, basically, whatever Game Boy game I played was exactly the same.
You already played. Did
It
you
was a
write
little bit
Animals?
sweeter though.
Did you play Write Animals?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's the first Kirby.
No, it was just like this, but it was better. But not like better. It was just more
Yeah,
modern.
no, it's Kirby's Adventure on
Yeah.
Game Boy. Was it? Oh, you might have been playing on Advance or something.
Yeah, it was Game Boy Advance at least.
Okay, yeah, you played like
Or SP.
the mirror. So Grace, I think for the last 10 minutes, because I'm gonna use the bathroom and get a drink, talk to Hakim about the 50 for 50. There's a lot to talk about.
Tell me about the 50. Oh, were you doing 50 paintings in 50 days for $50?
Yeah, so my homie Joe came
That's
up
a
with
mistake.
it. He did 100 for 100. And I was like, you know, he was inviting other people to do it too. And I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. But I'm gonna do my own version. It
Yeah,
just
you're
happened.
already like exhausted, right?
Yeah,
What day is it?
it's like 18 or something.
He's almost at 25.
Yeah, once I get to 25, I'll probably take a couple days off
That's fair.
and wrap it up.
I'm
The
gonna
next
take care of
25.
myself.
Yeah, it's been sweet though. I feel like I'm learning a lot about art and myself. You know, I'm really like getting a grasp on my process.
That's
Even though I
good.
already thought I had such a grasp on it, I'm realizing more about it with each painting.
I feel like that's why, like, even masters still took classes
Classes,
once in
yep,
a while.
yep.
It's like you still have stuff to learn about.
So much. It's weird that it's like you can never learn it all.
Which is like the great thing about, I don't know, like all human pursuits, right? Like art, philosophy, science.
Are me and the other character hugging or something? Every so often I cross in front of them and we stop.
Do you not stop of your own volition?
Nah, it's a different type of stop. Maybe I'm giving me like health or something. Can't put my finger down on what's happening. But it's really, yeah, I'm really enjoying it as much as it's hard.
Is that like a nice New Year thing for you to do? Like, do you think you'll do it again? Or?
Nah, I don't know if I'll do it again. Maybe some other year or something. I'm not against it or anything, but it's really not. I don't know. I think it would take away from the specialness if I did it a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really like a rarity thing.
Mhm. Yeah, how do you, I feel like you and Bryan both have a good idea of like how to market your art to a real audience who can actually, like, one of the things I admire most about Bryan is how he markets his work to people in a way where like normal people can actually afford it.
Yep, and actually want to buy it and buy it. Yeah.
And he talks about like establishing a relationship with people who buy his work, and like that it's important to like be a real person to people because like they want to support you because they like who you are as a person.
Yeah, I try to be extra careful because a lot of people that like know me, like their first experience in art might be through me, and so sometimes it can be like anxious. It can cause me to be anxious. Yeah, that's me right there. That's a self-portrait.
It's funny though, Hakim, because at first I thought this was a woman.
Somebody else thought that too.
Yeah.
I thought it was too.
But go ahead and tell them the story because it's actually a really cool story about it.
About this painting?
Yeah. About the story behind the person. They lost their voice.
Oh yeah, so I write a story for each of the, I don't write like a full story, but I do a story for each of the paintings I make to just go along with the characters in it. And this one, the boy lost his voice, but then he learned how to speak to people telepathically.
So that's why you have like
them little speech
I don't want to say like an infinity.
He has like speech bubbles coming out, but his mouth is closed.
Isn't that pretty cool, Grace?
That's a nice intersection of art and comics too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of times with our art is that what we were really into back in the day, Grace, when we first started working, was to fuse like comics, illustration, and painting. Like, you know, it's one, like there's no separation.
Speak up to the mic.
Oh, sorry. I'll take my name. I'll come over there in a second. Okay, so so the idea first when we were early on when we were working together, it's like how do you connect comics, illustration, and like painting all in one? And the way that we like figured that out or deconstructed it was like drawing into it, like there's no separation of the line, and that's like a reflection of an actual Hakim's painting he made. So that's why you have like.
I feel like a lot of people do that in a more forced way, but it feels really organic when you guys do it.
Yeah, and that's always like the goal, because like if the artwork looks like it has like tension or like it's not comfortable, where you're trying to force like a style, that's when it gets very like anxiety hits for like the viewer.
I recently started making photographs that are like driven by my longing for like a sense of self tied to my like lack of memory. I really like those photos. They feel really good to make, and I feel like they look pretty good.
That energy is real. Like people can feel that. You can definitely tell the difference between something made genuine. Something not.
Yeah, people respond.
Bryan said people respond.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Grace. Yeah, so like a lot of times with like art, if you're like trying to sell art, like first you have to get the idea out of your head of selling art. It's like, no, you want to make art, and it has no one who gives a shit if the person wants to buy it or not, or they like it. So it's like, make something that speaks a truth, and like eventually it's going to find somebody that also speaks that truth, you know what I mean, and connects with it. Because no one, Hakim doesn't care if a painting doesn't sell. I don't care if a painting doesn't sell. It's like more about.
I really think about like, if I'm gonna try to sell it, I really like it.
Yeah, it's something you would want.
Yeah, so if that's
so you have to be excited about it.
If I'm not excited about it and I try to sell it, that's when I run into a problem. Like, man, can I even sell this if I don't like it like that?
Yeah.
Hey. Look, they just hugged right there.
What happened right there?
I knew I wasn't tripping. When you walk past your homies, sometimes they'll stop and hug. I I usually just let my homies go. Oh my god!
Oh, you dodged that.
I usually just let my homies fight the bosses.
Oh, look at his little butt.
Get him.
Oh,
Get him.
look at his butt.
Oh man, he's tearing him up. Dodge it again. Can I like... No?
Oh, your helper's dying. It's so sad to watch him explode.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
he
he
just
Because
morphed.
the new helper.
Actually, well, your helper has like full energy, I think, right? Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I don't really fight the bosses.
Have you guys played Celeste?
No,
haven't
but I
heard-
want to.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to get.
On the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get it for Switch, Grace?
Yeah, it's cute.
I'll be playing like...
I love the
played
style of
that, A Night in the Woods. Have you heard of that?
No.
I like that.
Yeah,
It's
that
one of them
one's-
story games. I'll be
Sounds
playing
like a
that
horror
too.
game, isn't it?
Nah, it's like a story-based game. It's real chill. Oh, 2 bosses? That's good. You can take both of y'all.
He wants all the smoke,
Yeah,
Hakim.
you see how
Look how
wild he
angry.
is?
Look at how angry his eyebrows are.
Chili!
So like, here's a funny thing about the Kirby games. So when the Japanese versions, like the box art, it'll be like super cute and like fun. Kirby's eyebrows are always like happy. He's always like,
How do
yay.
I fight him?
But like the American box arts are always angry
Oh,
because like
really?
they change it because it's like America. And he's always like trying to fight. It's like every American box art, he's like
so
angry.
funny to track the history of like Japanese versus American releases of games.
Yeah.
It's so fucking.
Or even like
different.
there's
Yeah.
European Switch games. I think they're like shaped different. So you can't use a.
Like the cartridge.
Yep.
What?
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
Something
shit.
along those lines. Not exactly. But
Yeah, because all that stuff is
yeah,
there's
the
no
cartridge is different.
there's no region lock on the Switch, so you can get a game from Japan.
Oh, I'm
anywhere.
supposed to spit the coconut back at him. Damn, I miss my helper.
But yeah, Grace, a lot of times the question we get from like the public is like, "Oh, how do you sell art?" It's like we don't sell art. It's not what we do.
I am art.
I am art. It's like no, I have relationships with people that I build sincere relationships, and a lot of times it comes down to educating the public about art. So a lot of people who support us, they don't support us because they want us to pay our rent. They support us because they see Hakim out volunteering and working in the community. They see me working with kids. You know, they see us like putting that work in, you know? So a lot of people think that like Chelsea's like the end place for like,
No.
and like that place is
that's
dead.
a good place to like die.
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah.
Trust me, every artist in Chelsea
No,
wishes
that's
they
what I
had
want
our
the new
freedom.
wave in art to be, is to like be that community building and
Yeah.
that importance on like actually impacting like people
Yeah.
who aren't just wealthy collectors.
Yeah, and all that's like a facade anyway.
I mean, but because that's like what art is supposed to be, supposedly, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah. If you want to get down to the brass tacks of it.
Look at this fool in the clogs.
I'm not picking balls. Give me those.
Alright, I'm gonna cut this.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Grace,
thanks
for having us.
coming on,
Aw,
y'all.
super cute.
I hope this happens again soon.
Yeah, no, it happen all the time. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Grace.
if I lived here again, it would be.
right, you like, hey,
Yeah.
bitches, what are you guys
I'm
doing?
coming
It's
down with all my
time.
stuff.
It's time.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Hope you
Thanks for
learned
joining us.
something. Talk to y'all later. Bye.